And I'd like to welcome all the loyal subscribers to the Independent Investor live stream here. It's Friday, it's 9 o'clock. It's time to kick off and really emphasize a really monumental week for me. Some of which I'm gonna share. Some of the every now and then I have the opportunity to realize the goal of the channel, and that's to empower one investor at a time. And very rarely I have reciprocation where things come full circle for me and my eyes are really wide open. The vast majority of the time, I feel like I operate on an island. I feel like we're probably fighting a futile battle against an informidable and an undefeatable enemy, and that is the institutions that would have all the control on the dialogue, have all of the control on the narrative, all of the influences that would have you think contrary to what you're predestined to think of as an individual. And I don't mean to throw a whole lot of philosophy at you, but we're trying to move people to a place where they can find their own personal potential. Okay, that's really what this thing is all about. And I totally understand that there's people out there that are going to have a really hard time by that, finding their personal best. I think sometimes in my interaction with people, and I had one in particular interaction this week that I'm not going to share details on, but I have the very rare opportunity of having people sense the realism on the channel, and they should. It's very real. It's not in any way showcased at all. I think the people who engage with me via my Viber group, they understand their opportunity to sit across from me and talk to me one-on-one, like I'm speaking with you guys now. Unscripted is a lot like this experience that I throw down on every Friday. And it's amazing to understand where people come from. I get caught up in the whole Hyliion drama. I get caught up in, the stock market not moving for the last 3 years. I get caught up in those things. And investing is a funny thing. It's investing is one of those things you get involved with, and you have high hopes, and you might have high expectations, and you might build that perfect portfolio for yourself, and boom, boom, you got the independent investor in your channel over here, man, and you got a couple other channels that are real good. You put them in your channel and in your corner, and you put together a plan that you just are like, this is ironclad, baby, it's good. You want to set that sucker in motion. And as perfect as that plan is put into motion, and you believe wholeheartedly with what you're doing, investing is one of those funny activities that will humble you in its entirety, because to invest correctly means that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week go by, and you are in fact an investor. Now, I really want you to think about that. To really make this thing make sense for you guys, you have to internalize it. You have to make it part of your life. You have to make it part of your life's discipline. Maybe buy into this idea that that I resonate with, in that people spend too much money. To be a good applicator and a good stock market investor and just a wholeheartedly good person, you have to find some level of plateau where you're happy. Find out what it is from the baseline makes you happy in life. Aspire to that place, and everything else is surplus. It's what we do with that surplus is the powerful message on the channel. And I tell you what, I was inspired this week. I really was. I was inspired. I give a piece of that inspiration to the subscriber audience free of charge. The stock market has all but run off a lot of interest on YouTube in coming on and talking about what a lot of people would consider to be a very, very scary topic, and one that doesn't garner a lot of interest now with the volatility in the stock market. 4 of 5 days this week we're actually down. love to report to you guys week over week, I would have reported a $71,163 amount in my TSP. We increased $1,000, 72,107. As of this evening's clip, and we're up 8.5% in the TSP. Now, the very strategy that was deployed over that is one that 100% of people can actually do. I funded it through the downturn. It is one that I do not try to buy and sell markets. I dollar cost average the markets. I had the BlackRock CEO on today, CNBC. It was a wonderful interview where he actually proposed for the first time in 2023 that we may potentially go out of 2023 without a recession. And I applauded those efforts. I don't understand groupthink anymore. I'm 45 years old. The older I get, the more I resonate with the idea and the importance of thinking independently, thinking on your feet. Do not buying into consensus or groupthink whatsoever. Look, we can look at things and we can agree on certain concepts and we can agree on certain things. We can disagree on certain things, but blind following is not something I have a whole lot of patience for. Okay. And when it comes down to something as important as personal finance, I think all too often blind followership in personal finance is the rampant disease that plagues, unfortunately, retail investors. Because for some reason, the recipe is ripe for disaster in retail investing. When you look to seek out sources of information only to be misled into, a scheme that is just too good to be true, but too tempting to pass up on, for the fear of missing out on said opportunity, people are all too often tempted and led astray for those shortcuts. And the allure of easy money is a very, very tempting proposition for a lot of vulnerable in the retail community. I think that has to stop. There's an influx of commercials by my favorite fund manager out there. I'd like to punch him in the face. I think it'd be awesome because I think he's just about as close to evil as you can possibly get. It's Ken Fisher. I've made fun of Ken Fisher throughout the entire totality of my entire YouTube career, and I'll continue to do so. I think the guy's a complete prick and an asshole. Where there's a Ken Fisher out there, there's thousands of others that take a bite out of that approach of patronizing people and giving them some image of retirement and suggesting somehow that they have the magic secret sauce to get you to the promised land where, look, I would rather see you fail as opposed to fail at the hands of a fund manager who's being made rich by cherry picking portfolios of over $500,000 and outright says it. If you don't have a portfolio of over 500,000, you can't talk to Ken Fisher. Okay, he only wants to deal with the affluent of all investors out there, and I would presume that a vast majority of those people, based on the statistics, that would suggest that if you're within the 500,000 or above club, I would want to go deeper below the surface and understand, number one, how you accumulated that money, and number two, how you intend on preserving that capital and keeping that capital throughout the generations by opting for a plan like Ken Fisher's program, okay, where when they do better, you do better, or when you do better, they do better, right? Actually, it's when you do better, we do better, all right? Now, when pay attention to the mannerisms of Mr. Ken Fisher, the biggest prick on TV, it's unbelievable to see these fruitcakes. I'm one of those guys that foot stomp the Bill of Rights in the United States of America. I'm broadcasting this evening from New York City. It's a very, very powerful city. I am indeed a pilgrim in an unholy land. I'm not home here. However, it does provide me the roots to the independent investor channel. Here, going on 6 years running. I'll drink to that. Love to welcome everybody to the group. I am a visitor to your households every Friday at 9 o'clock to throw down on themes that may be somewhat controversial to you. I may say things that you either agree or don't agree with, no problem. I don't really care if you're a man or a woman. I don't really care if you're a Democrat or Republican. I don't really care where you come from, rich or poor. I will provide you no credit beyond giving you an acknowledgement to the very seeking of education and maybe perspective that you must have in this application for financial savvy. And I don't think there's anything that comes close to the paramount of you controlling your own money, controlling your own destiny. You want to have that ideal retirement down the line? I'll show you how to do it. Okay. I'll show you some of the things that I deploy every single day. I'll show you some of the attributes, some of the life practices that it takes. I'm not one of those guys that look at YouTube as a platform for me to come on and just tear into other content creators. I don't do that. I watch around the landscape, and most of YouTube and social media in general makes me sick. I think it's absolutely idiotic. I despise social media. So define irony. I run a pretty successful project here on the Independent Investor channel. What sets me apart from a lot of people is that I do it my way. And if you don't like my way, you can take the train. It's totally fine. I have no problem with that. There's no love lost. If you can't get value from what I'm throwing down on, you can go and try to find your value somewhere else, or you can continue to live with your head up your asshole. It doesn't bother me whatsoever, because where I will reach those very few, there will be the masses in rogues that live their entire life naive to the fact that they missed out by acknowledging one very simple fact, especially in this country. We are a privileged nation, and to take control of that privilege and not bastardize it, and in a lot of cases just give it the F away to somebody else who's looking to capitalize on your being naive. Okay, this is a wake-up call for the retail community, and it is a losing battle that I continue to fight, but I win on an individual basis for those very, very few who seek out their opportunity through the channel, who frequent the channel, who have deployed the message. And every now and then I get that very powerful reciprocation back to me in a very, very simple statement back to me saying, thank you, I appreciate it. And then the explanation is given to me how somebody whose society would just deem an utter failure based on the fact that they don't come from privilege, they don't come from opportunity. Okay, they don't buy into this institutional idea that you have to fall in line like a Hindu cow and just follow the rogues of people and invest in the stock market the same way that everybody else does. No, no, my friends, the more individual that you can apply your strategy, the better off you'll be. The more you resonate with the idea that sometimes preserving capital and avoiding those big catastrophic downturns in your wealth building strategy is probably just as important as it is to gain those incremental wins here and there to eke out those year over year performance rates of return that we are so eager to go after. Like I had said, the TSP's up 8.5%. I'm up 1,000 week over week here. I have no idea where that came from. I did not focus on it one time during the week. I was focused on 1,000 other things. That is something that general, hardworking, normal, whatever the hell that means anymore, people who are looking to earn a living are welcome to come into my channel and talk the talk with me. because I talk turkey better than anybody else. There is no doubt in anybody's mind when they come into a Friday live stream, pour themselves a cocktail, wrap with the Independent Investor channel, that my week was um, consumed the same way that yours is consumed. Now, I'm not one of those persons that resonate with the idea that you have to hate your job. I'm not one of those people who call myself in line with the rat race. I've been in times in my life where I've had no money. Okay. I've told the story many times on the channel where I've actually stuck my ATM card in the ATM and it says, "Get lost, asshole, you're a loser." And it spits my card out at me like super fast and it hits me and it hurts, right? Because the ATM is not used to having a card that is so polarized, because it has my name on it, and the insufficient funds that back that card are just absolutely jarring to the system. Okay, there was a time when I needed to change what was going on. If I wanted to go to the ATM and not worry about the source that I was drawing upon, I had to change certain things. Okay. I had to change my philosophy about money. Nothing changed as far as my wanting money. Okay. A lot of people will shake their head and say, "Yeah, I want money. I want money." But I'm not willing to change my application and discipline. I'm not willing to change my philosophy about spending. I'm not willing to sit in front of a YouTube fella, okay, drinking Seagrams and Sprite, right, on a Friday evening. I have better things to do with my time. Okay. I would rather live my life naive than to entertain the idea that this blue collar bastard might have a few things to say to people in way of financial literacy that is prudent, insofar as I'm not selling you a program. Like I said, you can listen, you can not listen. It doesn't bother me one single bit. These are things that I do. I've amassed a fortune. I grumbled 10,000. I shared this with you guys last week. We held true this week. We're sitting at just shy of $500,000 of net worth. And I would presume, based on the statistics that I review, that there's a lot of people out there where I contend that a lot of people at my age should have accumulated, based on the opportunity and barring a few mistakes, some level of net worth. The sheer reality is that that's not happening. That's not happening. It's not happening. Okay. You can sit here and tell me all day I'm wrong. I'm not. I'm right. Okay. People have just got to adhere to a few things. And I'll tell you what, sitting on $500,000 is a hell of a lot more fun than sitting on $25,000 in debt. Call me an asshole. It's totally fine. Totally fine. I have amassed this based on nothing short of just sheer free will. That's it. A perspective to suggest that I wanted to do and I did. The ability to take what most people think is impossible and turn it into reality. Will I end up making myself a self-made millionaire? I have no doubt in my mind. Why? Because 30 years ago, I had the same mentality in my mind that I would put myself on a track to do that. And when I put myself on that track, I was sitting on, less than $10,000 of wealth. Here I sit on $500,000. Has the game changed? Um, am I subject to change? Am I subject to throw in the towel on my routine because I've incurred a couple of rough years in the stock market? Mhm. I will give you a perspective that is longstanding. I will give you a perspective that is a root and a thread that will be present your entire life. It's not something that you engage with and then digress from. It's not something that you digress in and then retract from. It's not something that you exercise for a while and then you put it on the shelf for a while. I don't know. It's something that is internal to how it is that you operate. Where does your loyalty lie? Why is it that you do what you do? Who are you looking to support? Are you trying to achieve an end that is impossible? Right? I don't know where this program's going to go. I have no idea. I have no idea. All I did was put a plan in motion 20 years ago, 25 years ago. And here, in acknowledging the plan that we've put ourselves on, we have the potential of staring down the potential for some sizable wealth. And again, when I look at the statistics and I look at the people who households have been unable to accumulate a level of wealth even close to indicative of what they should have accumulated over that time, given said salary and given said opportunity, guys, it absolutely makes sense for me to come on and talk for the few seconds that I do every single Friday on this topic. A lot of people would say, man, Ryan, it's incredible what you talk about every Friday. Not really, not really. I'm just one voice, a failing voice at that, a failing voice. What I mean by that is we will lose in this efforts, in that if we do garner some partial wins and get through empowering one investor at a time, it will represent the minute minority and acute representation sample of those people that fit with the message and understand that personal empowerment is possible, and it's only possible with the right perspective. Guys, I'd like to welcome you to the Friday live stream. I will be getting to comments. Please leave any investing comments that you have for the group here. Always real, always unscripted here on the Friday live stream. Appreciate you guys. Be back with you in just a moment. And we're probably a hell of a lot stronger together. HM Investor um, places some products there for the community here. Is investing easy? It can be. What I declared to you guys with regard to the TSP, and for you guys who are not familiar, I'm a government employee. I have access to the TSP, just like a lot of people out there. BlackRock blew the numbers out today. That's why I own some BlackRock shares. I own 10 shares. And for those of you guys who have been sleeping on the moon, it's $700 a share. So it's not a small position by any means for a small fry like myself. But BlackRock is whipping some ass. They blew the numbers away. Top and bottom line, it was a great quarter for BlackRock. Stock soared today during the market as well as after hours after the report came public. But is investing easy? What I'm really trying to do is fight the systemic idea that regular people can't invest. And a lot of those personal barriers are placed on themselves in that they think that somehow they have to outthink the strategy, come up with some strategy on their own, or parlay a strategy from some source that seems credible and put it into motion only to cross the fingers and hope for the best. Okay. HM Investor is kind of putting a code or a matrix right here in front of us for all of us to enjoy, and I appreciate it because there's actually a lot of work here. VTI I own, VXUS I own some some international European in the TSP, but I don't own VXUS. FTC, DFAEN, SCHD I own. I don't own the subsequent two Charles Schwab offerings. The triple Qs I do own. Triple QM, triple QJ, I own TQQQ, which is a triple levered to the upside. JEPI I don't own, VB I do, VEA I do, VWO I used to own, I don't own it anymore. JEPQ I don't own. VOO is one of my absolute favorites. It's a flagship account as far as I'm concerned, and just owning the S&P 500. VT the value, all good ETFs. I totally agree with that, HM. Thank you for sharing. On the playback, somebody could kind of look at that and say, God dang, what do I invest in? And with a little bit of wherewithal, a little bit of knowledge, you don't have to buy all of these. An investor could probably be just fine if you follow JL Collins. It's somebody that I bring a lot of new investors' attention to. If you do Google JL Collins, he'll talk about the importance of VTI. He speaks about the equivalent to VTI. He just mentions the index fund rather than the ETF. It's exactly the same fund. There is no difference whatsoever. There are just a few strategic aesthetic differences between VTI and the comparable index fund through Vanguard. But really good lesson. Good way to kind of segue, because a lot of people come to me and they're like, how do I invest, right? And it's like, I always tackle this from now. I tackle it from an individual perspective, and it's super important for the member who was able to sit with me in my Viper group. I mean, we talked for, gosh, close to an hour, and it was so enjoyable. It's enjoyable for me. It's one of the most enjoyable things that I do. Um, get a little bit of a little bit of return and value through the channel, through the Viper group, through the independentinvestorgroup.com. You guys can kick over there. You're welcome at the front page of the website on the YouTube Independent Investor through YouTube. You can link to any of my properties. It's kind of cool, actually. Link over there. You don't have to sign up for anything, but just check out what I've done. It's actually pretty cool. I'm proud. The project is pretty much done. There might be a few additional pieces, one that I'm kind of working on, and I've been kind of off the grid a little bit as far as my newsletter goes. I would still like to infuse that potential on the channel. It's just that I don't have a lot of time to engage in continuing to layer up on a project that, a lot of people are kind of off right now. And I think it's a real mistake. I think for times like this, and I think when I had the reciprocation from people like I had this week, I mean, it was very motivating to me to sit down with this individual of the Viper group and share our collective thoughts, because we had the exact same thesis on, where things are, and where we had both been, and where potentially we were going, and what we were going to do about it in at present. Am I being too aggressive? Am I too spread out? Am I over diversified? Where would we look next? What's the next opportunity in the market? And just fascinating conversation to maybe understand that I'm not necessarily on an island, that there are people out there that really do kind of really resonate with this blue collar type of in the trenches approach, and what makes sense. And look, don't make no mistake. I'm not looking to turn away people who make money. Okay, that's not something that needs to be embarrassed about. It's something that needs to be embraced, leveraged, and profited from. All too often, I find that people who actually do make money, or especially those that have made large sums of money, cannot keep that money themselves. And if they do end up keeping it, they end up passing it on to children that end up pissing it away to the tune of 60%. And then that the next generation to the tune of 90%. So in other words, when seven figures kicks over to the next generation, 60% of those will in time lose that wealth that has been passed on to them generationally. Now, if the immediate generation doesn't piss away that money, it's a 90% failure rate to that money that rolls to the second generation. In this example, it would be grandchildren. So if you think that you're going to give your children and their grandchildren and their grandchildren's grandchildren a legacy, you might want to start with the education piece, because if you just bestow them a bunch of money, they will piss it away too. And you can come back and you can say, Ryan, you asshole, my grandchildren would never do that. Yes, your grandchildren will do it too. They'll piss it away because they never learned how to preserve capital. They never learned the true value of money. Okay. And it's very, very important to understand that the statistics just are the way they are. They should scare the hell out of you. Again, I come back to the project and why I do this every week, and why my motivation never deviates. It's because I'm scared enough for you. Now I'm making moves for me, but I'm scared enough for you. And here's why. You're not scared enough for yourself. Okay? Now, if that scares you, or it wakes you up, or you take it like I've just punched you in the face, great, because I did. I just punched you because you need to wake up. Perhaps maybe you have a little bit of the naive syndrome in thinking that it can't happen to you, it can happen to you all day. All right. This country and this economy, and especially this global tension that is going on, is changing every single day. Now, I think over time we'll be just fine. I do. But if you're going to succumb to the shifts and the short term injects in the stock market, you don't stand a chance. You'll lose. You will lose. You're a human being just like me. You must condition your mind to make sure that you're in it for the long haul no matter what. No matter what. I have validated that for myself. Only look to share that with you guys. And there's people who are out there and, they may have their $10,000 of hard earned capital in the market and they are incurring their first little downturn and maybe they're off 20% or more. And that $2,000 hurts. It hurts. It's not fun. Okay. This is the retail community here. I understand there is no emotion in investing. However, in retail investing, emotion is rampant. It's rampant. So we have to invest in the face of understanding that these are hard earned dollars. This 100 share position that you put in Hyliion, or you put into Palantir, or you put into your due diligence in your portfolio is your 100 shares bought and paid for with hard earned dollars. It's different than the institutions who have multi millions to throw at different positions. It's different than the institutions who have advocates that they can throw at a proxy fight on a stock that they don't feel like is performing up to par, right? Does the little guy really have a voice? Do they? Not sure. I throw that stuff out there on Twitter, and guess who gets attacked? This guy. Like I'm being overbearing. I'm being the asshole, right? Maybe I am. Maybe I am. Maybe you're absolutely right and I'm absolutely wrong. I totally get it. But at the end of the day, this game is about money, okay? And you guys are going to find out one way or the other that this game is a lot more about the bottom line and a lot less about being right or wrong. All right. I see a couple folks in the group here I wanted to make an acknowledge, and I'll grab the first comment I see here from Moki anyway. Best way to stick into the Wall Street is index funds. I know Moki has probably helped a ton of people out there. There's a few channels out there. As a matter of fact, it's been a long time coming, and it just dawned on me that I owe Moki a featured channel spot. This evening, Moki Finance will be added to my featured channel list on the Independent Investor channel. That is going to happen. There's a few advocates out there of talking about investing the correct way, um, and it affects people. Okay, so when you push that information, Moki does a good job of actually sharing the story that's actually impacted his life specifically. But I like those opportunities through social media where the efforts are duplicated over and over again tenfold. Okay. And Moki's doing a good job on the project, man. It's good to see you, my brother. Great to see you. The beat goes on, da da dum, right? Hey, huh? Love the project. This is one of my very most favorite things that I do on social media in a landscape that honestly, I am demotivated to make 3 stock videos. I cannot find myself the motivation to do it. I am true to my word. If where I enjoyed it in the past, I do not enjoy that type of behavior right now. The live stream is fantastic. I could do this product every single night. And it's one of those things that I could do with ease, if I thought that I needed to engage in that level of devotion and I had the opportunity, because my evenings are very sacred to me with regard to my decompression. And social media is not a decompression. Okay, guys, like when I come on and I do my live stream, I'm fired up. Okay. It takes me at least 45 minutes to decompress after I've delivered a message that I have to be locked in on. I have to be locked in. Okay. And people, even my mom and dad, I was talking to them tonight, and they're like, "What are you talking about tonight on the live stream?" I was like, "I don't know. It doesn't matter. I'll find my groove when I hit it." Okay, because there's so many different ways that we need to be able to push this out to reach a certain conglomerate over here one week, a certain conglomerate over here, and over the long term we want to reach as many people as we possibly can. You want to thank me? Great, I'll be the first to thank you. Okay, thank you for just giving yourself that effing chance to look into the mirror and avoid regret down the line. I'm telling you, there's a lot of people on this earth that deal with a whole lot of scary shit in their life. And would being financially secure help? I'm not going to presume that. But why not put it into work? And why not operate with a little bit more ferocity? Why not operate along your program with a little bit more rigor, with a little bit more, I hate to use the military term, sense of urgency, but dang, it has credence. It has credence. What are you waiting for? I've been doing this since I was 15. Okay. Some of you guys get started late, no problem. I'm not here to judge. I'm not your father. Okay. But if you're having trouble finding some motivation, to understand the sense of urgency behind this thing, because later on down the line, the money piece will be power. All right. For guys like this, the money piece means opportunity to different investing avenues. You might want to do this, and this. How the hell do you expect to do that if you haven't put the pieces in place to make those moves? And I'm here to tell you, if you haven't put those pieces into place, you ain't making those moves. I see a lot of people trying to make moves now, and they're not financially literate, certainly. And they do not have the fitness enough to engage in some of those high level investment opportunities. You have to start somewhere. And my friends, for a lot of people, it's moving from non investor, the couch investor, or the couch non investor to something in way of participating in our domestic large cap markets. I'm a big fan of index funds. I'm a big fan of ETFs. I own ETFs. I own index funds. And if I look at my portfolio and I'm giving you guys the pulse without some sort of cherry on the top or some sort of jaded positive perspective on it, I am up 8.5% in the TSP this year. I am up. And in a market like this, where every pundit that comes on, every single one at one after the next talks about a looming recession. And today was the very first time that I've seen a CEO, and might mind you, a CEO that people listen to with BlackRock, and gave a fundamental premise to suggest that with the infrastructure bill, with the Inflation Reduction Act, no matter what side of the aisle you feel on it, that is stimulus that will move into the economy. It's hard to imagine us deep diving into a recession, especially coming off of a 2022 that was a down 20% year. Back to back years typically do not fall in succession down years. And I don't typically buy into some of those faux pas about the stock market. It just is what it is. Okay, we typically don't have a follow-on situation. But his point was, with all of that stimulus going in to the market in way of infrastructure, and the even the commodity, excuse me, yeah, the materials and everything that's going to be needed, the labor, the jobs that are going to be created by both of those very large $1 trillion packages that were passed just late last year and into this year. It's hard to imagine the cross current between those entering into the market, and all of these pundits that are just rest assured that we're going to enter into a recession. It's the word of the day, recession or recession. Nobody talked about overvalued in the S&P 500 3 years ago. Do you often wonder at all? Somebody, I read a report today on Twitter talking about JP Morgan, and their quarterly earnings that are expected this time around when the banks report next week. And they're talking about a credit crunch with these banks and they're turning out record historic profits at the banks. The banks are freaking fine. We're just manifesting this crisis so we can have something to talk about to make ourselves feel better. I feel good all the time. Why? Because the only one I listen to with regard to my strategic direction with regard to my money is me. And I know this guy feels the same way. All right. It's great to see you, Matt. Thanks for coming on, man. Give you a little airtime anyway. Matt comes on the channel quite often, actually. He was my most recent visitor as well. I've had Moki and Matt. Both of these guys are channel creators. There's also another channel creator in here I want to give a shout out. I believe it was the first comment of the evening. I believe he's a channel creator as well. So I want to make sure that we're fair with our shout outs anyway. I'm happy to do it. I don't care. I don't care. I do this channel for the good of the order. That's for sure. We got Freeman's in the house. All right, great to hear. The ice cubes are back and the straight shooting has never left. I don't know. Maybe, it rubs some people wrong. I don't know. I don't really care. The older I get, the less I care. That's for sure. I was a lot more careful in my 30s. In my 40s, I just don't give a shit. I don't care. There's a lot of people who kind of relate with that idea. It's just, you see things and it just pisses you off. Like, everybody has to be for one specific person or one specific side of a specific global conflict. And it's like, really? Do you know the internals of what's actually going on over there? I mean, guys, if you study it, I think you'll find that the situation is a lot deeper than just following a Twitter feed and putting up a certain color of flag and pledging your allegiance while you're sitting here in your privileged high horse in the United States of America, thinking you know what you're talking about. You don't. You're full of shit. Just shut the fuck up until you know what you're talking about. That's what I advise. Okay. If you don't know what you're talking about, just focus on yourself. Okay. Wow, we've got all these rogues of people over here standing up for the cause. Really? I'd suggest looking into the cause before you fly your flag of allegiance with that specific cause. Learn to think a little more dynamically, think on your feet, okay? Question everything. Question everything. Be greedy. Be selfish. Oh, it's selfish is a bad attribute. No, it's not. It's perfectly. It's the attribute that will get you through nowadays by just looking at number one. Because I'll tell you what, when it's time for others that you have relied on your entire life to take care of you later on in life, you want to know who's going to come to your rescue? Nobody. Absolutely nobody. Okay. And that is the sheer reality of it. When I talk about a sense of urgency, I can tell you 1,000 different reasons as to why you need to have that urgency as of yesterday. And I apologize for the motivational Vince Lombardi speech this evening. But sometimes some people, in a lot of different ways, need this level of cattle prod right up the ass to wake them up, to let them understand that the time is right now to get started on some level of fiscal discipline. Okay. If you spend too much, stop spending so much. Okay. You don't need all the crap you buy. I've said this many, many times. How many storage sheds can you purchase? How high can you stack your crap to the ceiling? Okay. Before you're happy. Do you realize that you're actually not happy? People who have all kinds of crap, they're a freaking disaster. I hate hoarding. It's stupid. All right. As far as the physical things that I own, most of the physical things that I actually do own actually have value. They actually have value. But the rest of the trinkets and crap that we can buy off of, Amazon and all the other crap that we think we have to have, dollar stores, they drive me up a wall. I can't stand them. I know. I know. I've touched a chord with you. They're like that, Bang Ryan. Don't be touching my dollar stores, man. I love my dollar stores. I hate them. It's good. Have a drink. What's on y'all's mind? Let me have it. I see some new comments, man. I'll get to it in just a moment. Yeah, it was a busy week this week. No doubt about it. All in a good week. You guys would have been proud of me. Had some amazing breakthroughs at work. Pretty awesome. We're making progress, that's for sure. We're motivating the masses, man, making a difference. Leave with our leave with our head held high. every single day, we can actually look and we can actually be proud of the body of work that we've turned in. We got about 15 minutes left on the live stream. I cannot believe it. I look forward to this every single Friday, and it goes by so quick. And I talk so fast. And when I glance up and I see I only have 15 minutes left, it just amazes me. I dub it the fastest 60 minutes on YouTube, and that's exactly how I feel. As the Green Days, those are questions, everything, and shut up and be the victim of authority. Well stated, man. Great to see you. Got Clincher 16s in the house, man. Very cool. This was the other channel creator here, right here, investing in entrepreneurship. I saw that he's got a few followers, man. Do me a softie as far as the independent investor community. I know everybody's pretty loyal to these new channels. Kick over, embolden those subscriber counts up and help these guys in their or gals in their respective projects. I'm glad to endorse. Happy to do it. Them dollar stores keep people poor. That's why, yeah, I'd own the stocks. Don't get me wrong. I know they're a big favorite of a lot of people. That's for sure. If I, Dollar General and Dollar Tree, they're well-run businesses. That for sure. I would own both businesses. They're actually quite good stocks. I don't like when my ass goes inside of them. Okay, I don't like them. I hate them. Just do not like them. I know people are out there like, okay, Ryan, we'll draw the line right there, man. You dipping into the dollar store category. All right. That's the family's vacation every Saturday to go walk up and down the aisles and dollar stores. Oh, I've done it too, man. Trust me. Like I said, man, when I say blue collar, I mean blue collar. All right. I'm not joking. No recession here in Spokane. Prices are up. Yeah, Ken's talking about it seems like only the wealthy are living in the United States anymore. It should also piss you off. If there's 60 people on the live stream tonight, that's great. If I was in a small hotel auditorium and I had 60 people to talk to, I'd be super stoked on that. That's the way I approach this project. I really do. Give you something to think about, man. If there's just one thing that you can improve upon and look to embolden the situation within the four walls and the roof of your household, that's what I'm all about. And if you can come back to me and say, man, I watched this random live stream by this guy, and he talked about cattle prods, and he talked about hair on fire, and he talked about some crazy, crazy stuff, and threw a few curse words out there. He was pretty scathing, but motivated me to wake up in a certain couple categories. He said that we spend too much, and I asked myself, do I spend too much? And then I looked at the credit card bill and I was like, well, I'm in debt 9 grand. Maybe I should look to clean that up and segue those dollars into something a little bit more productive for my life. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not going to promise you millions. Okay. I'm just going to go out on a limb and suggest that most of you guys, maybe even myself included, I've got a pretty good head start on you, probably won't make your millions. And that's totally fine. We're not talking about making an impact that way. We're talking about a quality of life that it transcends the ages. Okay. If you're able to accumulate $450,000 over the course of your life, and you're able to educate your generations up because you are able to really understand and resonate with those good habits in how you apply your fiscal discipline, no problem. Don't look to the government to provide that to you. It's the complete opposite of what individuals are charged with doing. What would happen to you if you didn't pay your taxes, right? The IRS would come after you. Okay. What would happen if you didn't pay your credit card debt to the credit card companies, right? You'd get reported. Okay. Right. So on an individual household basis, we're held to much more of a standard than our government, who can just continually just print whatever money they need and just continue to run up the debt until infinite. And it's one of those things that the disconnect between the two have never been so clear in my mind that it's probably the biggest systemic risk to the market. Now, I think, to your point, I think real estate will adjust down, hopefully. But I tell you what, I'm looking at houses right now that are not worth the prices and the sticker prices that are being affixed to them. And I'm in New York City, and I'm reading reports here that people are leaving the city in roads. I can't blame them. I can't blame them. Taxes get so far out of control in certain states. where people think that that money is going to something good and it ends up elevating to 12 to $14,000, just to own a home in New Jersey, which is right next door to where I live. It doesn't equate, man. It doesn't equate when you can move to Tennessee and spend, 1,200 to $1,400 a year in taxes. Now, that might be a little bit low, but look at the extremes there. You're talking about 10x the tax to live here in New Jersey. And I'm here to tell you, it's not 10 times as nice as Tennessee. Okay? It's not 10 times as nice as North Carolina. It's not 10 times as nice as Idaho. It's not 10 times as nice as Montana, Wyoming, New Hampshire. I can go on and on and on. You see my point? Hmm. Something's got to shake. There's nothing else I take some comfort in. It's knowing that I participate in financial markets in a way that diversifies me away from only having cash, right? If I could own some precious metal, I would. I spoke last week about accumulating some alternative investments, and I don't know if that was taken very well by some people or not. I really don't care. But if you're paying attention to the landscape right now, our government is getting even more involved in what it is that they are suggesting or even requiring that me and you do or don't do day to day. You can feel however you want about that. All right. The very nature of my channel is independent. Okay. I don't have political acknowledgement on either side. I think most people in this country are pretty neutral, to be honest with you. I don't play the whole, if you think one way, you have to be Republican, or you think one way and you have to be Democrat. I don't think that way because I don't think the vast majority of this country thinks that way. Why? Because they're busy working and earning a living. But I think there's a lot of people out there, Democrat or Republican, that don't really like being told what to do with their time and how to live their life, especially if they're a law-abiding citizen and they do pay their tax, whether it be 12,000 in New Jersey or 1,200 or 1,400 in Tennessee. Neither one of those two want to be told what to do. And I just think we're at an interesting time in history where I'm monitoring the landscape closely. I am absolutely a participant in financial markets. I have to listen every single day with regard to my personal portfolio and question whether or not I am subjecting those dollars to a potential recession in 2023, right? And again, back to the BlackRock CEO who came out today and suggested that there's a potential for not having a recession. I felt that all year. I would go so far as to say I don't think we're going to have a recession. I don't. Earnings, job growth, the stimulus, to his point, in way of the infrastructure bill and the Inflation Reduction Act. Again, you can have your political alliances wherever you feel. I'm just merely suggesting that those are infusions to the broader economy. And it's difficult to imagine that we're going to somehow suffer with the average medium. What's the aggregate medium household in this country? I don't know. Can I take a stab? I'll bet you the aggregate median home price in this country is anywhere between 375 and $450,000. That's aggregate median. And everything that I'm seeing that is worth any level of acknowledgement to being a favorable suburb is much, much higher than 575, upwards of 650 to 750,000, and that's for a mid tier regular nice home, yes, but absolutely not worth $650,000. And I'm telling you what, the real estate in this country, I've been saying this for many, many, many months, is being run up by people who cannot get over the greed situation. The realtors are buying into it and the hedge funds are buying it all the same. Want to try to buy a house off of realtor.com anymore? You're getting the picked over scraps that have fallen from the table, my friends. You absolutely are. The good properties in this country, they don't come to public markets anymore. They don't come to Realtor. They don't come to Trulia or Zillow. They don't come to those markets because there's too many hedge funds out there with too much money that will pay cash on the dollar, no matter what the seller is asking, to bring that under the envelope of the hedge fund's portfolio. their real estate portfolio, and they're willing to pay whatever because they have figured out here as of late that real estate is the only thing that tried and true appreciates in value, something that over the last 80 years, private households have generated wealth on and has now turned corporate. Okay. But you don't think that the independent investor channel has merit now? Hell, I just told you I'm fighting a losing battle. We will lose this battle. The middle class is disappearing. It is going to be gone. What side of the spectrum do you expect to be on when that middle class is carved out and you're looking at a real estate market and you're on the side of the fence that would have you reach the sheer and utter acknowledgement that you can't afford $575,000. You can't do it because you've failed to separate your income or leverage your income to a place where you can actually put some financial wealth aside for yourself. Anybody can do it. I was proven that this week. I might have strayed away from or started to allow a little bit of doubt to creep in, not for me, but for people in general. That was all reaffirmed this week. I absolutely had a phenomenal one-on-one meeting. It was 60 minutes of a Zoom meeting with one of the Viper groups. It was absolutely one of the most inspirational stories. And for sake of ambiguity, I will not share the particulars of the story. All I will tell you is those stories are out there. And you can write your own story as this individual did for themselves. They wrote their own story and you can do it. And it really just starts with a willingness to do. And that is it. That is it. And some of the things that you have to put in place can start to really prove it to yourself and understanding, you know, how you can get to that end. Dave, it's good to see you, my brother. It's great to see you. I was working at 1.5 million. Not excited, not buying for that. Incredible, man. Um, that's certainly a pocket market, but I wish you all the best, man. And um, maybe you need to splurge a little bit. You've earned it. you know, it's those people that maybe aren't even as fortunate as us. I mean, I'm making concession now, Dave. I'm making concession personally here in New York City. Um, and if people knew my situation now, they would be like, wow, wow, you give me the net worth that this guy has, and I'm living in New Jersey in a $750,000 house. That's just it. I mean, you guys know and pulse in on what I share with the group on what I'm working with. I don't think it's that much in today's society, especially in, a very unique market like New York City. Now, I'm a player in Tennessee. I'm a player in South Dakota, Dave, right? I'm certainly not a player in Hawaii, but it's glad to hear that the trip went well for you. And thanks for stopping in, man. It's have some fun out there. Visit Hanoma Bay for me, man. I miss that spot. It's been a long, long time since me and the wife have been out there, but yeah, and I love that place out there. It's beautiful. I'm super happy for you. Thanks for stopping by, my friend, and good luck with that. That's a lot of coin, man. Of course, you're buying in paradise, man. Remember that. All right. And you can probably splurge a little bit because you work hard and you have earned it. You have absolutely earned it. And again, it just goes back to my point when I brought Matt Money on the scene and said, look, if you're going to set yourself up for those potential life decisions down the line, you have to make decisions now that are going to lend themselves to those opportunities down the line. Be a forward thinker. I made the comment to my wife tonight. You've known me for a while. I don't think in the past. I think in the future. I'm always trying to align where I'll be in 5 to 10 years. And the reason why we are here in the current juncture is because I envisioned it to be that 10, 15 years ago. All right. It is absolutely impossible for you to end up somewhere if you cannot imagine yourself in that place. All right. Just to watch Johnny Depp. Okay. Watch Johnny Depp and Blow. It's the same thing. All right. Imagine yourself in a better place, and you'll realize the power of the mind, and that you can understand that the perspective is the most powerful element of your wealth building evolution. It has nothing to do with the influences. Influences will lead you astray. Ken Fisher will lead you astray. No matter how much that silver spoon feels to you, because you are sitting on that $500,000 of wealth that they're fishing for, okay? It's nothing to be proud of in way of pulling that spoon out your ass and showing it to Mr. Fisher. It still smells like shit, okay? It's nothing special. And if you're not careful, you'll lose it all at the expense of a much, much larger machine that is at work and play in 2023 that would sap the retail and community for all they're worth in way of fees. This also came out in way of the meeting that I had this week. Man, you got to watch out. And what Moki talked about tonight with the index funds, it's one of those ways to participate in financial markets. Own the same Home Depots and Proctors and J&Js that we all own, but you're owning it as low of an expense as you can possibly get and maximizing your opportunity, and you're maximizing it for you. Okay. Passive investing in those passive products, you're the only one that can benefit from it. Okay. Now, I don't mind if Vanguard makes a few points of expense, a few basis points of expense by offering the product, because I can't just go out in my backyard and build an index fund. I can't do that. Vanguard has done that for you. Charles Schwab has done that for you. Okay. State Street has done that for you. Fidelity's done it for you. I don't care where you go. Okay. But we want to keep those expenses low. All right. Because at the end of the day, the number one person that we're looking to advocate for on the Independent Investor Channel live stream is not to boost me up. Okay. It's not to come in and waste each other's time. It is to come in and talk about as serious of an issues that I see going on in today's society right now, and you will either be the benefactor from it or the victim of those influences. Guys, I appreciate you tuning in on this Friday's live stream. It was a good one. I feel like the content came through nicely. I hope you feel the same. We will be back next Friday on schedule as well. So stay tuned for that. Set your calendars, look for the notification. If you're not subscribed to the channel, you're freaking missing out. Subscribe to the channel, I'll send you a bill. Just kidding. Subscribe to the channel, costs you nothing. And the information that you get from this, I am absolutely convinced is absolutely worth any amount of time that you're willing to devote to this craft. And I would cordially invite you to do just that. Guys, thank you so much for tuning into the live stream. And we'll catch you next Friday. And be well. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And we will see you next week.